we have Sachin Tripathi, who is the manager of AI research at AIM. So the workshop is titled LangChain versus LlamaIndex for LLM application building. And he'll be creating a dynamic learning environment, allowing you to actively apply and reinforce your skills. I'll just hand it over to Sachin.
We'll be doing a session on LangChain versus LlamaIndex. I hope most of you, everybody must have heard about LangChain, LlamaIndex. If going up one bit upper level, you will find large language models, right? So the entire idea behind this session is to give you a heads up as to how we are building application, how we are building some sort of querying engine or prompt engineering or something like that with both of them, and we are trying to understand what difference does it make. So what I have done is, I have actually prepared a small presentation, and then I'll head back to VS Code, where I'll show you the code also. I've taken code screenshots in the presentation as well. So later on, I'll be, if possible, we'll be sharing the code files, and we'll be sharing the presentation deck also with you all, so that you can use. And then I have also put up front some resources with which you can understand, and you can find a lot of different templates, because every second some or the other development is actually happening in this, right? And it's difficult for us trainers, industry specialists, people who are trying to learn and study, because every second, day before yesterday, something happened in ChatGPT. I don't know if you are knowing or not. What happened was, it started showing its training data. So if you ask ChatGPT that repeat a certain word, say, suppose repeat the word beautiful, it will repeat, and it will infinitely repeat that word, and then later on it will start projecting its training data. So all the ARXIV papers and Twitter data, everything was coming up forward, and then they fixed it in like 5 to 10 minutes, they fixed it, right? And then a lot of developments are happening. Stack Overflow also launched its LLM model for coding. So you can go ahead and you can give in the query. It will generate the code for you automatically. Perplexity AI, how many of you know about Perplexity AI? So it's just like ChatGPT, right? It gives you the entire response based on the prompt which you are giving. And they also launched Perplexity LLMs, where you can choose what kind of GPT model you want to build, and you want to get ahead with the prompts. So coming back to the session at hand, we are going to be discussing about LangChain and LlamaIndex. We'll do a small comparative analysis, and we'll see how they both work in action, right? Now, the entire idea about this started last year. Okay, if you all are aware that ChatGPT is now 1 year old. Okay, and there was a research paper also. I'll give you the idea about that paper also, the name also, 1 year ChatGPT. You can search on ARXIV. So what happened was, between 2022 and 23, there were only 3 basic large LLMs based on Google's BERT and GPT. And in 2023, we have more than 1,500 LLMs, right? So everybody is jumping on that wagon. And now we have got API calls and everything, so you can publish your own applications. You can create your own customized GPT as well on OpenAI if you pay $20 for that premium account, and you can get ahead and create, right? So coming on to this all started with one simple fact, which is large language model, right? So could you go with the next slide? So I came up with a smart idea about taking an image. You must have seen on LinkedIn, a lot of flowing diagrams are there. So I thought, okay, I'll create one image, which will be a little bit interactive and visually appealing for you all to understand. But this is a very simple, minimalistic view of a large language model. What happens is, we have a large corpus. Corpus is nothing but a set of input documents, textual data. And we pass it through one pre-trained LLM, where the data goes into the training, and then we apply different adaptation techniques, wherein we have question answering, language generation, named entity recognition, sentiment analysis, and other NLP related tasks. So this is a quick overview of how LLMs operate primarily. Now, LangChain and LlamaIndex, how they fit in, they are frameworks, all of you, right? And one of the most important aspect is they both can be used to adapt your problem statement or solve your problem statement at hand in terms of application deployment or prompt engineering, etc. Right? So what happens is we have LangChain. So LangChain specifically refers to language and chains, right? So what happens is that LangChain is the fundamental aspect of LangChain, where you are able to connect different tasks into one big block and you pass it on, right? Now, prompt templates, LLMs, agents, memory, these are all very clear aspects that we all are already aware of, that we have some sort of prompt template. Basically, what happens, everybody, when we are trying to pass a prompt into an LLM, we have three important things. We have to give we have to let the LLM create a context. Without context, your LLM will not be able to answer your question properly. Understanding? So, very small exercise you all can do later on as well. If suppose you go on ChatGPT or Bard or Bing or any other LLM which is available, you type, for example, you type, give me an image of an astronaut. Now what will happen, based on this text, you will get an image, right? But if you provide a proper context, what is the appearance of the astronaut, where he is as of now, is he in Mars, is he on Earth, and everything, the LLM will be able to more specifically generate the results, right? So we have three aspects. One is system message, one is human message, and one is AI message. These three things we have to be very much aware of when we are trying to build our own LLM models using LlamaIndex or LangChain, etc. Or any other for that matter. You study one, you can go ahead and experiment with hundreds of them, right? So system message is, what do you want the system to act as? Clearing this in the very beginning will make the system, the LLM, adapt to your context. So for example, I ask, act as a language translator. You have to translate English to French or vice versa. This will be the system message in the prompt. Then comes the human message. Human message is actually what you want that tool to do. What type of response do you want to generate from that tool? So if the system messages act as a translator, English to French, I will say that, how are you, translate this English statement to French statement. This will be the human message. And then the AI message will be the response which you get back from that tool or the LLM, right? This as a whole is nothing but understanding, making the LLM understand the context. This actually is known as prompt engineering, right? So, lot of theory, will not go in deeper in the theory, but I have another very good thing for you all. Next slide, please. So here is it. Later on, I'll tell you how to make these images also. So you can create wonderful images for your workshops or LinkedIn posts, etc. Now, what is happening over here, this is a very broad aspect of LangChain, how it actually operates. So we have the LangChain framework over here, right? What it does is, it takes your raw data source, you give the entire corpus or the raw data source, LangChain fetches that data source, okay? It then performs the data pre-processing and generates word embeddings. So word embeddings, in NLP, those are text, right? We have to convert that text into numeral format so that our system can understand. Our system operates on 0, 1, right? So word embeddings, TF, IDF, Zipf's law, these all things are applied on that, right? And then you create a simple data pipeline which then goes on to the storage, where you have the store. Okay. Now what it does, what LangChain does, after this entire aspect is completed, you go with the prompt engineering aspect. So you as a user, you have an interface. For example, consider ChatGPT. So ChatGPT client is your browser. You get a simple chat box where what is that? That is the interface for you. You type your prompt. That prompt goes into this aspect. We have Bob the Builder as prompt engineer over here. And then this is taken into consideration into the LLM, which is operated at the back of LangChain, because LangChain is not an LLM, it's a framework. Okay, it makes your LLM application deployment very fast, and it has a lot of tools and frameworks. We'll discuss all that in just a minute. So it interfaces with LLM providers like Bird, GPT, GPT 3.5, Dolly, all these things are there. And then you get an output back to the interface. This is how LangChain operates. So LangChain as a whole is very good for application building and deployment. Okay. Now, any questions on this? Is it all clear? Understanding? Okay. So we'll move next. Now, LangChain is like that, where we have a LLM at the back end, we give the input, prompt engineering happens, and then we get the output, right? On the other hand, LlamaIndex is specifically used for data retrieval and querying. The primary difference between LangChain and LlamaIndex is this only. LangChain is having a lot many tools and functionalities for you to deploy your own LLM models, etc. On the other hand, if you want to deploy some sort of intelligent search application or some sort of query provider or something like that, we go with LlamaIndex. So what LlamaIndex does, now this is a little bit unclear, but I'll read it for you. We have documents which are loaded, parsed, indexed, and then it is stored in a data store. Now from this store, query is there and we get the response, right? So at the end of the day, suppose you have a very big database and you want to create one application where you are able to search that database. LlamaIndex will be your go-to choice. On the other hand, if you want to keep that database at the back end and you want to deploy some front-end application, okay, LangChain will be your best bet. All right? So it is an orchestration framework that simplifies the integration of private data and public data for building applications using LLMs. Provides tool for ingestion, indexing, and querying. This is something which is very important. We have indexing, querying, and data ingestion, right? Can we move on to the next slide? So both are very innovative frameworks, optimization of large language models and their applicability in terms of application deployment. They address the emerging design patterns. Every second, there is some new update going on. And if you all want to know a little bit of trivia, LlamaIndex, the founder of LlamaIndex, just recently won 30 under 30 prize. He is actually 28 years of age. He and one more teammate of his, they developed this. And this is on a boom as of now. Okay. On the other hand, LlamaIndex specializes in supporting RAG. Now, most of you must have heard about RAG also, retrieval augmentation generations. What happens is, you can, if you are going to build some sort of RAG application, LlamaIndex again will be your best bet because of querying, indexing, ingestion, all these properties, right? But that doesn't mean we cannot build RAG on LangChain. We can build, but it will be a bit slower. That's it. Based on the data. Okay, I'm not going to say that it's slower commonly, but yes, data is another very important factor in that. So we're going to move on to the next slide. Again, LlamaIndex has the ability to store the data. You have variety formats, pull that data into a different source. LangChain has something to do with that data. So storage and what are you doing with that data, that is the basic comparison which you all have to understand. And then obviously you can drive generative responses, you can drive or deploy AI applications and so on. Okay? Now, we'll move on to the next slide. This is something which I found in one research paper. Based on the nature and functionality, whatever we have discussed so far, this particular slide clearly states what is the ideal use case of LangChain, or what is the ideal use case of LlamaIndex, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about your data, whether you are storing the data or you're working with data, right? Programming languages, LangChain uses Python, JavaScript, LlamaIndex goes with Python. Okay, I've got a couple of resources at the end of this presentation as well, which you can use and you can go ahead and explore yourselves. You can experiment with a lot many things. Ideal use case, LangChain is best suited for scenarios where there is a need for some sort of broader framework. Multiple tools are there. Okay, LlamaIndex is primarily for indexing and retrieval and search. Okay, so I hope the comparison is clear. In a very simple terms, I've tried to kept it in your in front of you, so that at the end of the day, see, it's not about how much detail you can go into, but once you get the basic idea, you start experimenting. So the idea behind is that explore all these different scenarios, websites, applications, and try to experiment with those codes. Okay, for instance, the use case which I have taken for LlamaIndex, there is that particular code is not available online. I had to build it myself, but the support was there, so it was built. Okay, I took some days, but it was done. So the idea is very simple: experiment as much as you can, and find the community, the group on LinkedIn, etc., where when you get stuck, post questions. Obviously, I'm also there, Sir is also there, many people are there. You can connect with us as well. We will be also very happy to help you out. But then it's all about this learning. Okay, so moving on, the entire case is about what we are going to do today. We'll be building one text to SQL generator using LlamaIndex and using LangChain. So we'll be making use of the LangChain, we'll be making use of the OpenAI API, and we'll be setting up one simple SQL database, okay, on our systems. And then once you pass that particular database into your LangChain framework and it goes to the LLM, you can write simple text and it will generate the response for that. So for example, if you have a database and that database, I'm considering some 80 million rows are there, for instance, very huge database. Now, sometimes SQL queries get a bit complex, right? Same is the case with non-SQL databases as well. But what if you can write in simple English? Give me the names of the employees whose salary is above 1 lakh. Instead of writing select asterisk and all these things. Condition wise, give me the names of the employees whose salary is above 1 lakh and their age is below 35. Now, instead of writing that SQL query, you can write it in a simple, natural language, text, and that prompt will go through the LangChain framework, deploy, and then you'll get the response immediately after that. So, in the presentation, I've taken the screenshots. I'll just go through those screenshots once, but then I'll switch to the coding environment as well and just show you how it's done. So here we have taken a small data set just for the understanding. This is a grades data set, very simple data set. There are 105 rows in this data, and it's about students wherein we have the name, gender, ethnicity, year. These are all categorical columns, as you can see. The important aspect in the data that we are going to be dealing with, we have GPA, we have review, we have quiz marks. So there are 5 quizzes, there is 1 final mark, there is a total, there is a percentage, grade and pass-fail. Now this data is a little bit unclean also. I wanted to showcase a bit of hallucination which happens in LLM as well. So what I have done, I have added total marks above 100 as well. And I wanted to show you that when you are doing that with prompt goes with some answer which is not as per what the data is. So you have to put it into a simple SQL database, and then you plug that in your LangChain or LlamaIndex framework and see how it operates. All right? So we'll go forward. So here is a very simple example. We have SQLite over here. You can go with SQL also. You can go with Postgre also. All other databases. I'll give you the documentation link as well. You can go and you can see the chains. You can use that. That is open source, freely available, so you don't have to worry. Some of the things you will have to experiment and you'll have to code it by yourself. Okay? And the community is there, ever-growing community is there. So it's not that you're going to be stuck on one problem for more than 10 minutes. You just have to go online, you just have to Google it, you just have to post it somewhere, you'll get the result. So what I'm doing is, I'm just going to go to the folder where the data is. I have grades.csv, and I'll be creating a simple database in SQLite. So SQLite 3, the name of the database is grades.db. The file which I have named it as marks.csv. So for example, if you have a file xyz.csv, you create a simple database. We go into the mode wherein we are declaring the table in SQLite. Okay, so the table name, just for the sake of understanding, I have taken the name of database and table same. Otherwise, confusion happens. But you can change this name, this table name, because in an SQL database or in any other database, you can have multiple tables, right? So you can create as many tables as you want. You can have relation in between them. All these things can be there, not a problem. Primary key, foreign key, each and everything. So I am going to be importing the marks CSV into the grades table, and then I'm just printing the table just to check whether the table is created. And the schema is in front of me. You can see I have got the entire SQL query which has created that particular grades table. And I've got all the columns now. So this database is created, right? Now, what we're going to do is workflow. When you are working with such experiments and projects, make a folder, name that folder as per your project, as per your interest. Go inside that folder. Start creating folders and files in that so that everything is kept in one place. So for example, one DB folder I have created wherein I have copied that database in that folder. And I have created the scripts outside that folder so that it is easily available as per the path system. What else I have done? I have also created one requirement file. So when you are downloading the code which I have created or I'm showcasing over here and you are operating, sometimes some libraries might be in conflict. So in that scenario, you can use my requirement file and you can see all the packages with their versions and you can install that just to avoid that conflict. And instead of installing it in your base environment, you can create a simple virtual environment and you can go ahead with that, like a sandbox. So after this is done, here, this is the code. Now, don't be afraid of the code. Code is very simple. Libraries are straightforward. You don't have to mug this code, all of you. Okay. The important aspect comes later. So here what we are doing is, I am going with .env library. How many of you know what is .env library? So what we are doing is, I am having one OpenAPI key, OpenAI API key, right? So I've got two methods. Either I can write the key here in this particular statement. I'll come to this statement in just a minute. So what I'm doing is I'm feeding that API key into my current environment. And that particular API key can be accessed from anywhere as per the Python kernel. Okay? Now what I have done, .env is one very, you can say, superficial aspect wherein we have one .env file. In that we keep the key. So I'll showcase that in just a minute when I show you the coding and Visual Studio part. So what happens is that provides a bit of secrecy, first thing, and it keeps your project segregated. So it's not like you have to manipulate your original script again and again. You get a new key, you manipulate that .env, it will be connected once you run .env. So we are loading that environment. And these are the two codes. If you're not going with the env file, you can simply write os.environ and you can give OpenAI API key here. Okay? And printing, I'm just printing that key so you can see whether that has uploaded or not. And when you are loading from environment, it should give you true. That means the load is successful from that environment file. Okay? Up till this point, clear? Any problem? Is it interesting or boring? Everybody? Pakka? Not tired, na? Okay. So we'll move forward. Now, this is something which is very important. We get our database URL from this. Here you can see what I'm doing is either you can run this line or you can do this. By default, if you have a database set up in your system, if you have multiple databases, conflicts might happen, so you can give your database like this. So I'm writing SQLite and I'm giving folder is DB in the workspace, grades.db. Now, once this DB URI, database unique resource identifier, is created, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that SQL database from URI and store it in DB variable. Here I am declaring the LLM model. Okay? Now in LLM model, we have OpenAI. I'm using OpenAI's LLM model. By default, the OpenAI model will come forward. You can set your API keys as per your models also. It can be GPT 3.5, it can be Dolly, it can be Text Vinci, Da Vinci, all these things are there. Now temperature 0 and verbose true. Is there anyone who can tell me what this means? So temperature 0, actually it is related with hallucination. Okay. So what happens if I increase the value? It can be more. It can be more creative or it can be more precise. Right? I'm going with 0. What does this mean? Context. Okay? And verbose true? Yes. So we are getting some system messages also. I'm printing just to keep an eye as to what is happening at the back end, if I'm able to get the result from that. And now I'm using LangChain's SQL chain. So here SQL database chain, this is coming from LangChain, from LLM, and I am declaring the LLM, the database, and the verbose. So this line is where what LangChain is. We are using SQL chain. You can use Postgre chain, you can use lot of different chains are there. If you go to the official documentation, you will find chains, agents, you will find real case scenarios also, examples, where people have developed, for example, a chatbot, or some sort of web crawler, or some sort of image generator, something like that. So all these things are freely available for you to experiment. Okay, up till this point clear? So it's a very simple example, but very big thing is going to happen. How many of you have seen text to SQL before? In LangChain? LlamaIndex? Not LlamaIndex. Something new will be there for you. Okay, so we can move on. Now here you can see I am running that particular chain and I'm giving a prompt in natural language, which student has the highest percent. So now what will happen, based on this prompt, the LLM framework will activate at the back end. So LangChain framework is there and LLM. And then you can see the SQL database chain will activate. The query will be generated automatically by your LLM and you will get the result. And after that, resource will be closed. You'll get the answer. Okay. Now, instead of writing this entire query You can simply write a simple text. Now, on this example, it's very simple that, okay, sir, we can go ahead and we can write select asterisk. Why are we writing text? But imagine if you're dealing with complex queries, right? So that is something which is very helpful. Also, depends on the data as well. Your data is very big, just create a simple database and run it. Okay, you don't have to load it in Workbench or MySQL or go ahead with some sort of Mongo, Atlas, Compass or whatever. You don't have to worry about that. Performance, efficiency, etc. is also very high. All right? So, is it interesting or not? And you can go ahead with different queries. It's not just which student has highest percentage. You can write any textual input as per you and based on what you want from SQL, right? So it's not just which student has highest, but you can write which student has highest percentage provided the age is below 20, or which student has the highest GPA, or which student has the GPA between this and this, but not this. You can limit also. Select asterisk, so we write, print all the records and just give me 2 records. You can do that also. So anything, any imagination you have, you can apply. All right. Now, so this is a very simple example of text to SQL LangChain. And now, when we talk about application, you can use different tools such as Streamlit, Gradio. Yeah. Yeah, it will work. It will work. It will try to understand. It will try to understand from that and it will give you the result. But at the end of the day, it's all about the context. If it is not able to get the context, it will give some wrong answer also. So you have to be very careful also. When you are trying to give the prompt, you have to be very careful that LLMs are prone to biasness, they are prone to hallucination as well. So if the context is not given properly, for example, in ChatGPT also, you open the ChatGPT web page. Suppose you write that, write a small introduction for me, and you give a 5-line introduction of yourself. You say that I have done postgraduate, I have done this, and write an introduction for me. Now ChatGPT will write. Now in that same window, you write, add this also. So it will take that previous context and then work on the new one. But if you open a new chat, and then you write, in my introduction, add this. Now it will ask, what is your introduction? Please tell me. So it has to be contextually fed in that manner, in a very sequence. So when you are working like this, you can give prompts, you can define the entire context, just to be sure that it doesn't hallucinate. So for example, that same image example, I want to get an image of an astronaut. Now you tell that astronaut is wearing one F1 NASCAR helmet, and he's on Mars doing skydiving. The prompt will evaluate and then continue generating. So there are a lot many free tools like this also. There are a lot many paid tools also. One tool which I would recommend is Skybox Blockade. So it is able to generate 360-degree panoramic image based on your prompt. I'll show you that also here, just a simple exercise. And prompt-wise, what happens. So this is about LangChain. And then obviously we have LlamaIndex. So LlamaIndex is having the database support. It is having a service context. We obviously need OpenAI. And then it is having one NLSQL table query engine. Natural language SQL table query engine. This is the full form, right? So you can create your own database and tables from LlamaIndex, in LlamaIndex, or you can call a pre-created database as well, It's up to you, right? So SQL Alchemy is one of the go-to runners in terms of Python SQL connectivity and creation. And otherwise, you have PyODBC also. You can go ahead with that also. I am using SQL Alchemy because Mac by default comes with SQLite. So SQL Alchemy is running with a very good handshake. So in SQL Alchemy, I have declared all these things. Now create engine, insert. Now this insert, table, column, string, these are all keywords which you can use to create your own tables and databases. Though I'm not using that in the script, but I just wanted to showcase that yes, this is how we go ahead with. So you can use your SQL queries like insert. You can use your SQL queries where column keywords, string database, data type, all these things are there. Primarily, we'll be using create engine. Again, we are loading the OpenAPI from the .env file. And here, same thing, only one difference. In LlamaIndex, we create an engine based on our database URI. In LangChain, you are giving the database URI directly. Because LangChain is for lot many purposes, but LlamaIndex is especially for data ingestion, querying, and retrieval. So at the end of the day, when you cross this particular year, next year, and as of now, RAG is very famous, right? It is all going down to LlamaIndex only. LangChain will be coming at the back. Semantic kernel is also one such technology which has come forward. You all can go ahead and search. It is better than LangChain actually. It's having a lot of tools also in some context. So there is always a trade-off in computer science. Okay, it's not that everything is good. Again, so we are declaring the service context. I have mentioned a comment also. This is taken from the documentation website. So it's a bundle of commonly used resources for our data ingestion, indexing, and querying in terms of LlamaIndex. So what we are doing, everybody, again, here I have taken the temperature as 0.1. I'm not going ahead with verbose, not needed. I'm going with 0.1 temperature. Service context, I'll take the created engine based on the LLM. So I am declaring my LLM over here. Based on this LLM which I have declared, this I am taking in the service context from default. So this will try to get the context. It will try to give us a service based on the context. It's an interface, it's a tool for querying, right? The main thing is this. In LangChain, you were using DB chain. In LlamaIndex, chain is not there. LangChain is having chains, language chains. Here, we have a simple database. We take the engine based on the URI, and we're gonna go with what table I want. Your database can have multiple tables. I am going to go with include table grades. This is a list, Python list. You can declare as many tables as you want. So if you are having a database where 5 or 6 tables are connected, okay. So where 5 or 6 tables are connected, you can pass them in this list and it will all connect. So primary key, foreign key aspect and everything will come into play. You can say there is a hostel table, there is a student table. Which student has not paid his hostel fees? Now give me the student's contact details and the fees is what he has not paid. So the contact detail will come from the student info and the hostel fees will come from the hostel table based on the context, based on the service context which we have created. Okay? And over here, so in LlamaIndex, little bit bigger code is there. We are using natural language SQL table query engine. We are giving the SQL database. We are giving the grade in this query engine. This query engine will go in terms of response when we are using this query engine and we give our query string. Now query string over here, student with highest GPA. Now when you print the response, you'll get the result. Now, one more important thing. If you have a database of only 200 rows or 100 rows, LlamaIndex will run a little bit slower. Because it works on retrieval augmentation generation, right? So it will index, it will parse, it will load that chart which I showed, and then it will calculate. LangChain, on the other hand, is faster in that aspect. But at the end of the line, if you're going with larger databases, especially for retrieval and searching, etc. LlamaIndex is the best. So that is the entire gist of the session. When we are talking about tools and frameworks, it's all computer science at the end of the day. And there is always a trade-off. We have to maintain some sort of balance. It's not that one tool is very good, other is not. Otherwise, why are we using it? Otherwise, why is it in the market? So it's in the market because of this. So on lower end databases, you can try also. And if you're running the code in VS Code, purposely I took this. You can see the time frame. And if you go to the LangChain one, just previous slide, one more. Here you can see 1.8 seconds. 10 times. It's there. Yeah, it's there. It's there. You can create your own code generator, etc. also. LlamaIndex is best in that sense, but it's there. You can go ahead and do that, okay? So Atlas and Compass, for example, MongoDB, you can dictionary, JSON, you can do all that. So this is base, right? And obviously the next slide, these are certain resources. You must have seen all of them. I just wanted to keep it so we have an official documentation of LangChain. If you visit that documentation, I'll just show that to you as well. So what happens is, first we'll do one thing. Just escape slideshow mode. See down Docker VS Code is there in the Docker. 1 minute. Here. So can all of you see and read? Is it okay? Should I zoom in more? Now is it okay? So here you can see I have got my requirements file over here, okay? And primarily what I did, I had created a Python file just to run everything in Sense. And then for workshop, I just converted it into a Jupyter notebook as well. Now, what you can do is on the left-hand side, I have not removed all my environment and everything. I have taken one simple workspace where I have kept LangChain LlamaIndex, and this is my DB. So if you go in this, you can see the grades database, which was created from SQLite. I have copied it over here. And this is the .env file. Now, I'm not going to open it because it is having my key. Okay. But still, you all can understand. That is not an issue. I'll just get it sorted. So this env key comes here. Acha, one more thing. For example, if you created this, you must have seen like repos like this on GitHub, right? Now, if you upload this on GitHub, okay, at once you're going to get a message from OpenAI that your secret key was exposed on a public platform such as GitHub, and it has been revoked. Okay, this is very common. I think you must have seen it. Okay, now there is a very good thing about this also. Okay, so we all are kind of trainers and engineers, right? Now, normally you cannot delete your OpenAI key. If you create one, you can replace it, but you cannot delete it. But then you are operating on an account which is having free credit. And you are afraid, I might lose that $5 free credit. How should I stop this key? So simply make one .env file with your key, upload on GitHub, problem solved. Okay. Yeah, so you cannot delete that one key. You can replace it. Create also. That also you can do. Okay. A lot of many things are there, but this is just a simple trick. So we have some adversity, we can find a solution also. Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, we don't have to do that. But yeah, but normally what happens is when we are uploading on Git, etc., lot many people, we have a sort of You can say a hierarchy. So it's good to have lot many things and then explain that context easily. Yeah, you can keep that. You can keep that. Okay. So here all of you can see. One more thing. If you are operating on a free account in OpenAI, you are using that API. How many of you are using free accounts, not having premium? So there is a limit also, 3 input tokens and all that. So you have to be worried about that also. So sometimes what happens, you're running the same code thrice, or after 3 times you run it, it will give an error. But that doesn't mean it's not working. It's just saying that after 20 seconds, the limit will be resetted and then you will come back. So here you can see we have taken this, and I wanted to show you also. So here, just 1 minute. So when we run this, so here you can see it has run and it has given me the highest percent. Okay. Now I'm going to run it once more, and I will run it once more. So you can see here, rate limit error. So this is from OpenAI. Okay. They have limited the rate because of free account. You cannot go ahead with lot many. And the same thing is with LlamaIndex also. So here we have the LlamaIndex. We have taken the SQLite. You will not find this particular code anywhere on internet. Okay. You'll find for Postgre, you will find for lot many things, but not for this. And you can see the answer comes like this. So at the end of the day, comparison wise, what we wanted to convey is LangChain is much better in terms of application development. Suppose use case, if you want to build a chatbot, go with LangChain. But if you want to build some sort of search tool, some sort of querying tool, go with LlamaIndex. As simple as that. If you are working on the data which is less than 200 or 300 rows, LangChain will work faster in it. But if you are having a high profile data, LlamaIndex is your best bet. So lot many things are there, and obviously we have got several resources. A lot more resources are there, but obviously you all are there on LinkedIn, lot many groups are there. Keep learning, keep enjoying. Okay. So that's all. I could not understand, sir. Please say it once again.
You are explaining it right, LangChain. If I'm using for any application develop, so I can use the LangChain, right? So LangChain is going to give you kind of like the portal can access your LLMs, any kind of LLMs. We can take both the combination, LangChain and LlamaIndex as well, because index is going to give you query capabilities.
So we have one saying, na, if you cannot go through the mountain, just pass by it. So you can connect LangChain and LlamaIndex as well. Okay. But that is a session for some other time. What happens is you can take the indexing power from LlamaIndex and you can take the deployment tool from LangChain. You can connect these two. They will give you a very high-end application also. So that is something which is very common. So that LangChain, when we were talking about that prompt engineering part, in LlamaIndex what happens is you take that entire LLM LangChain framework and connect it with the LlamaIndex vector store and all. So that data store which you are getting, that comes into Llama and you can generate the prompts. That is the simple architecture, minimalistic view. So that's all from my side. Any other questions? Anything that you want to ask?
Can I have the architecture diagram as well? So,
Yeah.
sorry, I missed.
So we'll be sharing this presentation with you. So here you can see this is LangChain. Okay. And we can simply take this part and we can go ahead with LlamaIndex over here.
So you can use this vector DB or which vector stores we have used it, this DB wise?
Yeah.
Those are the vectors ones, right, which you use it. So let's say it's like in my prompt, I don't want it to give the kind of like more tokens to it. I want it to give like less than 300 whenever, like there should be a rate limit as well.
Yeah.
So how you did it into the prompt engineering, which I haven't
So
seen.
this, you can expand it. It's another field of study. So here, lot many things are there. So how many tokens you can create? What is the limit? And when you are talking about a prompt, how are the tokens created at the back end? Because when you are running a code, you will see that 20,000 tokens have been generated. You'll see that in OpenAPI usage block in the website. But then you are running it for one time only. How is it generating 20,000 tokens? So that all comes in that. So it's another field of study. But yes, you can engineer that also in the LangChain framework. When you go to that Python doc, you will find that how you can manipulate that particular aspect. But at the end of the day, it's all limited from the OpenAPI. So you have to think about them also. Some things are not customizable as a free user. But premium users, obviously, they have got some more things because access to models are also there. So each and every model, and then you come with the hourly US dollars and everything. So you can see that page as well and you can set. Any other questions? How was the session? I hope you all enjoyed and learned something very interesting. Most of you have seen it working, but deep down inside, I would say. And it's very simple. You can put your application on Apple Store like this. Piece of cake. Anywhere. 5 minutes. That's it. And you can start earning some money. You don't have to moonlight. It's not about money. It's about training and it's about learning and then getting ahead and increasing my productivity. So I'm not going to be losing my job to AI, but I'm going to be losing my job to someone who knows AI. So I should be the one who knows AI, right? So that's all from my side. I hope I've not taken too much of your time. Lunchtime, actually, everybody is okay going for that. So thank you very much, everybody.